right, guys, today we're starting Unit 2, Cell Structure and Function. So the goal of this unit is you're going to be able to look at these models and understand all of these bits and pieces of the animal cell, what their structure is and what their function is. So let's start with the cell theory. Cell theory states that all organisms are composed of one or more cells. This is why viruses are not considered living. They are not made of cells. They are much smaller than cells. 2, the cell is the basic unit of structure and function in the organism. And 3, all cells come from pre-existing cells. So new cells do not spontaneously just appear. They appear from cell division. There are 2 basic cell types. There are prokaryotes. Remember, pro rhymes with no. These are unicellular organisms, or made of one cell, with no membrane-bound organelles and no nucleus. These include things like bacteria and archaea. Then there are eukaryotes. U rhymes with do. They do have membrane-bound organelles, and they do have a nucleus. And these can be unicellular, but mostly we think of multicellular organisms like yeast, plants, and animal cells. So let's begin with prokaryotes. Remember, pro rhymes with no. No organelles, no nucleus, and everything the cell does needed for life takes place in that one cell, and that's in the cytoplasm. Eukaryotes, they have distinct membrane-bound organelles that allow different parts of the cell to perform different functions. Organelle means little organ, so they are like little organs inside the cell. Now, we mainly think of plants and animals when we talk about freshman biology. But remember, eukaryote cells, they're bigger and they're a lot more complex than prokaryotic cells. Cells come in many shapes and sizes, and their shape or their structure determines its function or what it does. Remember, structure in biology is directly tied to function. So here are the basic parts of a cell. Every cell has a cell membrane, sometimes called a plasma membrane. And we call the model a fluid mosaic model, which we will talk about later. The cytoplasm is the inside of the cell. Does not include the nucleus. So the cytoplasm, you'll sometimes heard it referred to as the cytosol. It's basically the same thing. And then the control center is the nucleus. So some differences between plant and animal cells. Plant cells, they have a central vacuole. Look in the bottom right here. On the right side is the plant cell. That vacuole is that big white thing in the cell. Whereas animal cells, they have many tiny vacuoles. Plants have chloroplasts, which do photosynthesis. Animal cells do not. And plant cells have a cell wall for structure. Animal cells do not, because we need movement. Now we're going to get on to some organelles. The nucleus is the control center of the cell. It contains nearly all of the cell's DNA. And DNA is the coded instructions for making proteins and the blueprints for building an organism. So the nucleus, here's a picture of it. It's surrounded by a nuclear envelope composed of 2 membranes. So there are 2 membranes surrounding the nucleus. And it's dotted with these holes called nuclear pores, which allow material to move in and out of the nucleus. But remember, DNA stays in here. DNA is too big to get out of those holes, so it stays in the nucleus. Chromatin, this is the granular material in the nucleus that consists of DNA bound to protein. So in the bottom right, it's a little bit blurry here, but it looks like a bowl of noodles, but the purple thing is the nucleus, and the noodle type thing is the chromatin, or our DNA. Chromatin, it condenses to form chromosomes during cell division, which we will talk about in the next unit. And chromosomes are distinct thread-like structures formed of condensed chromatin that contain DNA that is passed on from one generation to the next. So chromatin, DNA, and chromosomes are sometimes used interchangeably.